Hello and welcome back to the Coaches Show on 90.1 KBPK. I'm Ryan Osborne, the host of the Coaches Show, and we're joining you out here at the soccer field because we've had a lot of football already. We've talked to basketball, we've even been out at water polo, but we haven't had a chance to talk to the soccer teams here on campus. And both these two teams for Fullerton College are off to a flaming start. You look at Fullerton College men's soccer team, they had a great out-of-conference season, as did the women's team as well. So let's highlight both of them, and we'll start it off with Greg Avilis. So we're here with head coach Greg Avilis of the soccer team here at Fullerton College. And Coach, normally when we're out here, we say, hey Coach, what happened the last couple of games? What about your latest streak? Let's take a look at a different angle.
Sure.
Talking to you before this interview started, it was all about your alumni, your current program as well. Coach, when you have a recruit coming out of high school, what's your pitch to them to come to Fullerton College?
The biggest thing that we talk to them about is just really what we stand for and what our business statement is and our message and what we're trying to do and how we're trying to educate not only just our team, but this community college process and how community college is so important to the educational standpoint, to managing their clock and how it can help their family for the future and the setup. So we really talk first and foremost about the community college model and why community college is important. There's such a negative stigma on it that it's you go there if you weren't good enough or there was something wrong with you. For us, it's really them understanding, changing the way that viewpoint is and how important this can be and how this could actually really propel them even farther. And then the second thing we talk about really is our pillars, and it's faith, family, football. They're going to come to a place where they're going to be viewed as members of our family. We're going to help them grow as men and how it all integrates with the game. But really that everybody matters. We love all of our players the same. We're here to help everybody. Everybody from us is going to transfer. Everybody's going to transfer to a school that best fits them. They're going to transfer with scholarship because we're going to help them academically to get those academic awards. We're going to bleed into their academic success as much as we're building into their their athletic success. And once we kind of lay that kind of groundwork, and I think the selling point is always when they see how passionate we are and they talk to our players, they talk to our staff, and they realize how invested we are. This is what we do. This is our life's work. It's not just a game for us. We're really invested in young people and young men to become better leaders, to become better mentors, better fathers, better husbands, better members of their own family as much as here. So I think that really speaks to a lot of people.
Coach, one thing that was interesting when we were talking earlier is that you mentioned, yes, soccer is great. We love this game. It provides opportunities. But in terms of what we're trying to teach these guys, it's towards the bottom half of the totem pole.
Yeah, it really is. Soccer is the last component. We say our pillars set up this way. It's faith, family, and then football. It has to be third because without the faith and everything that we're doing as whatever you hold to be true or faith in the process and the family mantra, then football really doesn't exist. It's not an individual sport. It's everybody coming together to reach common goals. So without 1 and 2, you never have 3. Our other pillars is men of integrity, intelligence, and intention. Without honest and being men of integrity and knowing that you're here to get an education, it's hard to have clear intentions. If you're not thinking about what you're doing, you're not being honest about how you're doing it, you don't have clear intentions, which it's going to inhibit your success. So for us, it always becomes the bottom layer because the game is going to be the game. It's the smallest part of our day. It's the smallest component in what we coach. So we have to bleed into everything, and we have to give it its part.
And Coach, when you mention intention, those can have two different meanings. You talk about what the intent is of a player coming to a program versus what their motivation is going out of the program as well. How do you kind of give them two different aspects?
Well, we help them grow as individuals so that they always have their motivation lies within. But when they understand their actions from a normal action on the game and how that plays into their daily actions on campus, and knowing that there's a path and laying out that framework. And so if I have goals set for the day and I have 3 clear defined intentions, it's easy to find motivation to do those things. When I'm coming in blind, so to speak, with no intentions, then I'm always seeking motivation, or I don't know what experiences to draw that from. So when things are very clear for me and I have a clear path and I have clear objectives and intentions, it's easy to find those experience or those words that are going to motivate me to continue on my process.
Coach, a lot of times you'll see around not just Southern California, but around any athletic sport in college, you'll see coaches who just say, oh, you know what, just, you got your studies, you got your practices, that's all you got during the day.
Sure.
You mentioned daily goals. Is that something that you preach to them?
Yeah, we have every day. We have clear processes. Even from the beginning, we lay out the semester for them into a big plan and then into micro plans. Daily before practices, we lay out the practice schematics and what we're doing. We talk about the coaching points. We talk about the objectives. When we're going to study hall, this is what we're looking to do. We meet together as a group to talk about check marks and benchmarks and, progress reports. Anything that's part of it, we lay it out for them so they understand the game plan always. But for us, it's just the more that they understand what it's going to take and they see those immediate successes or the small successes, the easier the bigger it becomes, more realistic.
When you mentioned study hall, one thing that was huge about your team a couple years back, when we were here for it, that championship, was the GPA, which isn't stressed enough when you talk about college educators who are coaches. You look at the education that your program constantly has. How do you make sure that they stay with their studies?
With the studies, it's, we have to be committed to it. I mean, first and foremost, as a program, we have to be committed to that process. When you say you want to just do study hall or, hey, go see the tutors or go do your homework, it doesn't show commitment from the staff. They have to know that we're as committed to the soccer as much as we are as the academics and vice versa, always. So it becomes part of our everyday. We have designated times and designated coaches that speak to it throughout the day, whether it's our life coach, whether it's myself, my assistants meeting with the guys individually to work on things. So they see on a daily how dedicated we are. And the other way we lay it out for them, their families, is financial. I think to us, at this game as being adults, we see things in more of a financial picture. So when we lay it out as a business plan and showing how academics will give you academic money, which will lead to less loans, and how it'll help with automatic admittance to universities, that speaks to them to understanding bigger picture. So now they're seeing it from a player standpoint, they see it from a compassion of a staff standpoint, and they're also seeing it financially.
You mentioned those financials. One thing that isn't stressed enough is the fact that you get that GPA. Yes, you have the athletics going for you, but you get that GPA, all of a sudden you look more handsome, more enticing to a new program who's trying to recruit you. When you look at your players, you were talking about it before, that's something that you stress to them, is the fact that if they get their GPA done, they're going to look even better if they want to move on to another program.
Absolutely. It's marketability. I think that's the first at the forefront of it, because coaches come and they're gonna always compare them to see, well, this kid is, he's very similar to this kid at this other school. But then when they start asking the right questions, what's he like as an individual? What does he do on a daily? What do you know about him? What are his academics? That's where our guys set themselves apart. They're in a Division I program setting every day. They're speaking to things that define character every day. We're coaching them on character. We're coaching them on life skills. They're focused on their academics. That sets them apart from any other player. So where they might be equal or somewhere close on the field, they're nowhere near that same kid off the field. And to a kid going to a new program, they're coming into their family. The coaches are invested in that, and they want men of quality, men of character, and they also don't want any problems. So it checks a lot of those boxes. But for them, when we tell the kids really what the drive should be and what they should look for is to go into a program not to just be another number, to go and be a man of influence. And that's something that we talk about daily. So when we transfer players, we're not only transferring them to play on rosters, we're transferring them to change locker rooms. We're transferring them to be captains, to be leaders for those programs, change culture, add to culture, whatever it may be. And that's where I think it really brings the unequated value to our players versus somebody else.
If a D1 coach looks at one of your players and realizes, hey, you know what, I don't have to worry about his studies because it's been ingrained in him at your level already, is that something that you kind of take pride in when you're talking to other coaches?
Absolutely, because it's track record. When coaches come and they, the track record of previous players that have gone there is successful, and they've seen what those players have done. That legacy it only opens up more doors for our incoming players, and we're proud of that. To see players not only learn it here and master it here, but then to carry it on and transform other places, you're building a legacy, and that's, for us, it's important because that legacy will then move on to their career paths. And so not only changing lives, but changing the culture of family, making people believe in bigger things, open up their eyes. But I think hopefully for us, we have a bigger impact on this world.
You talk about impact. A few years back when you were first hired here, you and I talked here on the Coaches Show, and it was all about what type of program you could establish. How do you look at the current program you have now?
I think we're on our way. I think when we first talked, we did have a model and we had a plan, and a lot of it was based on, a 5-year goal plan and where we wanted to be. I think we've we've hit most of our marks. We're still seeking that state championship banner, which is something that's going to be up the top for us. But as a program, I think we're doing our part. We've had our success in the areas that we've put effort into having success. We're continuing to get better on the field and growing, and every year we get a new batch of kids with different challenges, and we're able to adapt and continue to repeat success. So very pleased with my staff and everybody who's put everything into this program.
One thing that's interesting about you that you've talked to me before about is how well you keep up with alumni. You look at that 2019 team, magical year that finished with the OEC championship right here at Hornet Field. When you keep up with those guys, you see how they have recent successes coming right out of your program. What does it make you feel and your coaching staff feel?
I think we're just proud. We're proud for them. We're happy for them. We're happy for their families. It's the same reason those kids, we talk to them constantly. We still go out to dinner with them. They come back to the program, talk to these guys about how important it was, how eye-opening it was for them, and just still continue to guide and mentor them, because the next place may not be like this place, and how we help them find success there as well. But for us, those lifelong relationships mean everything to us.
Coach, if you're looking at a high schooler who's looking at getting into a college program, not just here at Fullerton, but what is one thing that you would stress to that high schooler looking to go to college? What is one thing that you would say, you got to emphasize this when looking at a different program?
I think for us, it's always being honest in where you are in the process, honest with yourself on what your abilities are, readiness, looking for coaching staff and programs that's going to be honest with you and guide you through this. It's going to be a very difficult road for the next 5 to 6 years, and you just need, again, I can't stress enough, just honest feedback always, from the players and the coaches. So as long as everything is true and it's in line, then you're going to be able to navigate it.
Thank you, Coach. We'll catch up with you in a couple weeks.
Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
So we're talking with Ryan Monardis, one of the leading scorers for this Hornet team. Ryan, when you look at this season so far, you've got a lot of points on the board already. What's been a key to your success thus far?
Just, pushing every day through practice, just working as hard as I possibly can, just pushing my teammates. And, of course, my teammates have a lot to do with it, too, because they push me in practice every day just to be better and get it done on the field when it counts.
One thing that we've been talking with Coach Greg Avilis about is the fact that there's a family aspect to this program. When you looked at Fullerton College, what was one of the big things for you?
Basically, just it shows that from the start, really, that the team really has your back, and that everybody in the program really cares for the other person, not just oh, I'm in it for myself. It's more that everybody's in it for each other, and that's a big thing that helped me coming here.
When you look at this program, one thing that they always emphasize for you guys is keeping that GPA up. You got to keep those studies up. Mm-hmm. How do you, as you yourself, make sure that you keep your studies up in line with everyone else?
I think just time management helps me a lot, because just making sure I'm on top of all my assignments and everything. And like I said, with everybody doing the same thing, it's easier, because you're you don't want to fall short. You don't want to be the person that falls under the GPA requirements and everything. So yeah, that's been a big thing for me.
What's one thing the coaching staff is working with you this season?
Just a big thing compared from my freshman year was just being more of a leader, being more vocal on the field, and just really pushing everybody else, and being more, being the big guy that needs to help the freshmen and the younger guys just get better and learn how it is and the culture of this program.
I mean, how does it feel to go from yourself a freshman, learning from other guys, all of a sudden you find yourself in a leadership role?
It feels really good, because I learned a lot from my freshman year and from the older guys, and I feel like I had to take the responsibility to do the same thing that they taught me, because they really did a lot for me, and I feel like it wouldn't be good if I didn't do the same for the freshmen and for the younger guys. I feel like I had to keep that going and keep the culture going and really push the younger guys and help them as much as I can.
Each leader has a unique trait to them. What would you say is yours?
I don't know. I would just have to say I'm always there for them, and sometimes on the field I can yell at them, but afterwards I'm always coming to them and making sure they're okay mentally and everything, and I'm always making sure that they know that I'm going to be there for them no matter what happens.
You mentioned the mental aspect. I mean, that's one thing as a student athlete not a lot of people really talk about, is that it takes mental fortitude to be a student athlete. When you yourself are a student athlete, does it give you a little bit of an extra upper hand in helping support your fellow teammates?
I think so, definitely, because if I'm supporting my teammates, they reciprocate that, and they know that, or I know that if I'm going to go through anything hard, they're going to be there for me. So that's a big thing for me.
Well, Ryan, best of luck this season.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
So we're here with Steve Perez. And Steve, when you look at Fullerton College, we talked to Ryan just a few moments ago. You look at this program and how it has that family aspect. What was one thing that stood out to you when you were looking at this program?
I think one of the main things is the interest of the coach. I kind of want a coach who knows what he's doing. He has a plan for the next 5 years, or at least for the next upcoming years that I'm here. And I think, the culture that comes along with Fullerton College, and the hard work, the determination, and the mindset that everybody has, including the coach, the coaching staff, the head coach, the assistant coaches, the players, the red shirts. We all have this mindset of growth mindset, where every day you try to come out here and try to improve, and that's the culture. It's very competitive, and that's one of the few things that I found enticing from this program.
Does the competitive aspect also help push you to get better?
Yeah, definitely. So, as I said, there's a lot of competitors, first of all, at this school through, the different sports, and specifically more in my sport, soccer. Everybody here is ready to compete every day in the weight room, in the classroom, on the field, and it's very intriguing, and it of course elevates my style of play.
I mean, when you mention competition, not only on the field, but also off the field, do you kind of get that friendly competition going with your teammates in the classroom? Hey, I got this grade, you got that?
Yeah, so some of us might have, similar classes, and I can hear little bets, a little Gatorade if I get a better score than you, and it's something small like that where it improves ourselves, as a team, as, being together, but it also improves your grades in the classroom. So there's small things like that happen, not on the field, where it makes the group a lot closer together, and it helps the individual as well.
When you look at the Orange Empire Conference, some say it's the most difficult conference in the entire state to play in. What is one team that kind of stands out to you so far?
For me, one of them is, we haven't played them yet, but I think it's Cyprus. I think they're familiar to our school. They're a sister school. There's some sort of rivalry there, and I know the coach pretty well, and he's coming out to get us. So we'll see how we play next Tuesday, and I think they're probably one of the top competitors in this league.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
So we're here with assistant coach Kenny Castellanos. And Coach, when you look at this program, we were talking to Coach Avilis about it earlier. It's all about the family aspect first, then football. How do you stress that family aspect to guys who just enter the program?
I think here our priority is initially to give the kids a safe environment and a good place for them to continue to grow as men. Then we introduce concepts, or then we introduce soccer. But the first selection process, if you want to call it that, is identifying kids that we can continue to help grow off the field.
When you talk about looking at guys at this program, you've got a bunch of guys on the main roster, you got additional guys, red shirts, gray shirts. How do you manage so many people at the same time?
That's usually a challenge in itself, but with this group that we've had, and maybe it has the impact of what's going on socially and COVID, and just how classes are for students now, the kids have come together more than ever. Our group is more connected than ever. Our red shirts are intertwined with our first team players. We do activities together. There's no really divide between the groups. Although they are red shirts, gray shirts, first team players, it's one big family.
You mentioned COVID. There was a long time where people couldn't be together, teams couldn't be together. How did you guys maintain the closeness while apart?
It's been a challenge. It's been a really big challenge. We've had to be very adamant to face masks, be very adamant to distancing, be very adamant to individual work, individual development before we can get them on the team. The summer was very, very difficult. We're used to bringing the kids together and having them click as a family before the season starts, but it's difficult with COVID. It took us quite some time, hence maybe why we stuttered a bit at the beginning of conference. But I think it's a good lesson for everyone to learn.
You look at how your team gels going from a summer where you're not necessarily having that same usual routine in having everybody together at the same time. How do you stress, hey, you got to get better at this, you got to work on these sorts of things? How do you stress that with different guys?
It's a group of players. We really don't have to convince them. You know, they're here because they know that if they put the work in, they're going to get to the next step. We're just here to help them advance. I would lie to you if I say that we have a set of rules that they have to abide by. We do have a foundation, but the kids themselves want to excel. So we're just there to give them that extra push when they slow down a bit, per se.
I mean, you mentioned that it seems like, yes, you have your system going. You have those foundations, as you mentioned, the family, the faith, the football, but you also leave room for each player to have their individual uniqueness about them.
Yes. That's usually our secret weapon. You know, we give them a framework, we give them a system, and within the system, we let everyone excel and show their flavor. We like to call it here their sauce. You know, we give them guidelines and we say, hey, this is your box, but within your box, you can do what you're good at, whatever that is. If it's defending, if it's shooting, if it's scoring, if it's communicating, whatever that is. We never tie a kid down and say, hey, you can only do this. Because I think expressing themselves and being who they are is going to allow them get to where they really want to get, whether it's soccer or not soccer related.
I mean, Coach, when you look at guys who come in here as a freshman, they're under the tutelage of other sophomores, and then you look at them and you say, hey, this guy, maybe like a Ryan Monardis who we talked to earlier, I think you have the opportunity to be a leader. How do you pick those guys out?
They kind of just surface, you know. They're all talented. They're all great kids. They're all great leaders within themselves. But there's usually 1, 2, 3, or 4 that have an extra drive, have an extra gear. And as the season goes and it progresses, the older guys start helping the younger guys organically, per se.
Okay.
You know, it's not like a, hey, I have to help you, you have to help me. It just happens. They'll see a guy out here doing extra work and they'll come and train with him. And then that kid will give on his knowledge and say, hey, maybe you can do this or you can do that. It's different. That's going to help you continue to develop.
Well, thank you very much, Coach.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. We're here with Coach Charlie Gomez. And Coach, when you look at this soccer schedule to this point, one of the biggest things about the Orange Empire Conference is that it's continually heralded as one of the most difficult to play in the entire state. When you look at the competition so far that you've had to face, do you find that to be true?
No, yeah, that's very true. I mean, we have 3 teams that are top 3 in the state or top 4 in the state, and it's very competitive. I mean, there's other leagues that are competitive too, but for some reason the Orange Empire is like very competitive, very tough to play here. We played other teams and they're tough too, but I would say our league is more physical and definitely play a little bit faster than everybody else.
Do you think that the familiarity between teams causes it to be a little bit more?
I think most of the girls have played club in the same environment and they sort of know each other too. So I think that creates a little bit of competition, but at the same time, it's just the culture that other teams have is just like Santiago has won state twice already, defending champions back to back. So they have that culture of being champions. Same with like Saddleback has hosted the championships. So I think it's just the environment that they're in, and it's a mentality that they feel like they're better. But at the end of the day, it's, you know, we all come to compete. So I think it is competitive. I mean, the score says different, but on the field, it's very competitive.
You mentioned club. One thing that's very interesting about possible players coming up to the community college level is that they have different habits from club going up to community college. Is there one specific thing that you have to try and break once you see a club player coming up to college?
I won't say that there's one thing, there's a lot of things. I would say the most important thing would be that players are used to winning. In club, they're used to getting a trophy. So it's changing their mentality to be hungry to win, because they're used to just playing 2 games, 3 games on the weekend, and then they go back to practice, playing 2, 3 games on the weekend. And they've been doing it for years, for so long that they're just used to it. So I think when they come and play here at the collegiate level, they're used to just, it's just a game on Tuesday, it's just a game on Friday. So we have to make them, want to compete and want to win and make them feel like it's something different. But I mean, technically, I would say it would be maybe just playing with a little bit more speed, because at the club level, it's, from what I've seen or from what I've noticed, is players just hitting the ball up and having 2 players just run up to the ball and finding a quick goal. Because in the club is, this image is you want to grow the club, and you grow the club by wins. You grow the club by trophies. So teams are just recruiting girls to just kick the ball, run, and score a goal fast.
Do you find that the midfield quality from club players coming up to community college is a little bit more difficult to coach because you have those through balls that are just being launched rather than actually playing technically sound up the field?
Yeah, I mean, like how I just said, so a lot of teams just bypass the midfield, so they don't even want to play with the midfielders. They just want to hit it up to the forwards and forward score. So it is a challenge to get the midfielders involved, but we love that style of soccer, of possession and just keeping the ball, bouncing the ball back and forth. I won't say it's hard to find midfielders, but it's just hard to find a team that wants to play that style because they've been used to for so long of just kicking the ball up and trying to get a goal fast.
Which formation do you run that allows you to give you more of that possession-based?
As long as there's 3 midfielders, so 4-3-3, 3-5-2, and obviously there's 3 in the middle.
When you look at your program specifically, do you have a favorite formation?
I don't really have a favorite formation because I feel like all formations are a mixture, or it can be combined or can be switched. Just one player rotating one way and it's a different formation, a 4-1, 4-1-4-1. But we play a 4-3-3, which could be seen as a 4-5-1 if the wing backs drop. So we play 4-3-3, and I like that formation.
When you look at your midfielders, and especially in that last formation that you mentioned, a lot of the emphasis as well when you're defending is to make sure that you can present an outlet so that way you move forward with your midfield. How do you make sure that those players are able to learn, hey, I've got to get back to present that opportunity to get up?
To get back first? Or?
Yeah, to get back first, so that way you can
To
clear.
get back, you have to love to defend. I mean, it's a team sport, so I mean, you just have to get back. You have to love to defend. You have to want to work hard for your team. I don't think anybody wants to get scored on, so I think it's just a desire to get back for your team and be there for your team.
Well, thank you very much, Coach.
So thank you.
So now we're with goalkeeper Sydney Suarez. Sydney, when you look at the goalkeeping position, a lot of people kind of overlook it. They say, in the game of soccer, the goalkeeper is just kind of there. But really, it's one of the more athletic positions that you'll see on the entire field. How do you make sure that you keep up to task with everyone on the field while making sure you're positionally sound?
So I personally, I do double sessions. So I'll do like the technical goalie training before practice. But then like with our team practice, I'm so proud to say this, I've never missed a single practice since spring. So I feel like I always try my best to be here, even if like, let's say for whatever reason I'm injured that day, like I'll try my best to be here because I want to still like be with like the chemistry, like I still want it to be with the team, but then I'm also on the side working on my own technical stuff that only I can get at like goalkeeper training. So I try my best to like work my schedule to work with the team and then on my own.
How does the communication work between you and your back line?
So we kind of struggled at first just because we didn't know each other too well, but I think over time it's more of like we got to a certain understanding that anything we say on the field is never personal. So if I feel like, for example, I see something like lately we've been trying to work on coverage. When we talk to each other, it's not necessarily coming from a bad place. Like we have the understanding of it's never for the wrong intention. Like we're just trying to make each other better. Yeah.
When you look at if a game goes down to penalty kicks after extra time, obviously that doesn't take place until postseason play or later in conference, but a lot of people kind of look at it and say, it's just luck. You know, you just happen to be in the right spot. But for goalkeepers, it's more about tendencies. How do you pick up on tendencies prior to?
So I try to look at the placement, from what I was taught, is like look at the placement and the way that they're setting up. So if you feel like they're setting up a little more towards like the left, then they're most likely going to try to hit it to your like right or whatever. That's kind of like my tactic. I guess it's just like all goalkeepers have their own technique, you know. Some like to intimidate and talk back to the player. Some like to just go up to them. Some take a step back. Some take a little, I don't know. It's just, I think it all depends on the style of play of the goalkeeper.
So it's all personality based?
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you look at your personality,
Yeah.
how do you think you bring your personality into helping lead this team?
I feel like I'm very extroverted, and I'm also, in a sense, fearless as to what others may perceive of me as. So I'm more open to being honest, and I'm also open to them giving me their honest feedback. And I think it's just more of like I'm also the oldest on the team, so it's also come with like, I feel like I have to hold that responsibility of being the one to like kind of like step out and take the hits and like do the dirty work, as in like, you know, start those uncomfortable conversations or give that honest opinion. I think it's just the type of person that I am, is like I try my best to be as honest as possible. The truth shall set you free type of thing.
When you see your position on the team, you mentioned being the oldest and then also helping your teammates out. Do you feel that you have the kind of unique responsibility of bringing everyone together as a family on this team?
Yeah, I think so. I also feel like it's kind of like the one position that overlooks everything, which is like, it kind of resembles like how it is on and off the field. So it's like you look at everything, but then you also have like that perspective of having maybe a little bit more advice on school, having more experience in life and like your job. So it's like I try my best to like connect with everybody, you know, because I have experiences that like maybe this person likes skating, I can go skate with them. It's just, I feel like I try to make it deeper than a soccer thing. Like I want to connect to you like on an emotional, spiritual level.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
So once again, we want to thank the men and the women's programs here at Fullerton College, both soccer teams, for joining us on the Coaches Show. Don't forget to stay up to date with both of these two teams at fchornets.com, in addition to staying up to date with KBPK, as we've got a lot coming up for you. We've got a recap of Fullerton College football against San Bernardino Valley in the upcoming weeks, in addition to also stopping by the men's basketball team again with Coach Perry Webster in the near future. I'm Ryan Osborne, thanking you once again for joining us. You've been watching The Coaches Show on 90.1 KBPK.